Hey, YouTube and Instagram, it's Gordon Miller. We are live at 5. Sorry, it's about 5 minutes after 5. So let me adjust the height here. Trying to get that all right there. All right, so, um, okay, so welcome to Live at 5. And a couple things that I wanted to address right off the bat. So, first of all, when I announced that I was going to give away my Netflix login, or actually one I was going to create that was separate from the one I actually use. I got I actually got contacted by Netflix, so I don't know who turned me in or whatever, but they said that if I were to do that, they would actually ban me from Netflix. So okay, maybe announcing it probably wasn't the best strategy. So, oh well. Um, the funny thing is that I would love to give you guys access to Netflix. I think they've made enough money on the run up here from $78 when I bought in, or $68 or whatever it was, all the way up to 462 right now. So, but the they want an exclusive Netflix and chill with you. Yeah, well, hey, the good thing is if you sign up for Netflix and chill, then at least you get to use my login. So there you go. But it's so funny. So happy birthday, Ronaldo! Congratulations! Thank you very much. I appreciate the followers from Quora coming over to YouTube and Instagram. So first of all, I've got a friend of mine joining us here at some point. Olivia Hudson. She's a nurse. She's been on the front lines of the COVID-19 activities over the last 12 weeks, and I'm curious to get her perspective. But the very first thing I wanted to do is I wanted to address what's going on with the George Floyd situation in Minneapolis. So, I have, I grew up I was born in 1964. I chose my friends, as Dr. Martin Luther King said, based on the quality of their character and not the color of their skin. So, it's funny, while, my parents put me in private school to avoid busing me across town and things like that during the forced integration efforts of the late 1960s. Ironically, the wealthiest among all of the minority families had their kids going to private school too. So it was pretty funny. So, I mean, the very first black judge in Virginia, Judge Douglas, his son Dougie, Doug went to school with me. Doug and I were great friends, and in fact, I appeared before Judge Douglas in court in the, I would say it was the early '80s. I was probably 16 or 17, and Dougie and I were friends, when we were in elementary school. So, before we were like 10, 11, 12, something like that. So, it was one of those kind of things where the respect that Judge Douglas showed for me, where, he was like, you didn't mean to do this, right? I was like, no, Judge, I didn't. And he goes, you're not going to do this again, are you? No, no, Your Honor, I'm not. I appreciate that. And he goes, good. And of course, the Commonwealth's attorney was going nuts, and everybody was going nuts, and they were like, "What's going on here?" I mean, we caught this kid doing X miles per hour in whatever speed zone. I don't even remember what the ticket was for, and Judge Douglas was like, "Look, I know this gentleman, and he is of the utmost character. And if Mr. Miller says that he's never going to do this again, then I will have to take Mr. Miller at his word." And it's just one of those kind of things where if you didn't grow up in the '60s, the late '60s, early '70s, you really don't appreciate how racism, especially here in the South in Virginia, was so prevalent. I mean, it was everywhere. It was systemic. And like I said in my post today, while we've come a long way in a very short period of time, there's still a long way to go. And you know, I have never. It's never been an issue of black or white for me. It's always been an issue of of judging people based on their character, based on their on the way that they are, and things like that. All my friends growing up in the late '60s, early '70s were all African American. Didn't matter to me what color they were. It just is. We raised our kids not to consider color either. So, it just isn't a factor. And it's a shame that there are so many people, and out here today that still think race is a factor. And I feel I at least have to address that briefly. So, but it is sort of the way the world is right now, the way that the world works, and it's a shame. I mean, I think that it's horrible. Now, I've seen a picture that somebody posted that was a modification of a "Make America Great Again" hat that this police officer supposedly wore that murdered George Floyd, and it says "Make whites great again." And I don't. That is for sure not the message that President Trump, I think, is trying to deliver. I mean, you can't make America great without really uplifting everyone in America. But I'm not going to defend the president one way or the other. But I don't know if the hat was doctored or whatever. But I tell you what, if this officer owns a hat that says "Make whites great again," and he kills someone in his custody, then it is a hate crime and it is a capital crime. And I would love to show up at the electrocution or the lethal injection for this officer. I mean, it just is, it is, it's unfortunate. So, I think that race should never be a consideration. And I am frankly sick and tired of this. I'm a huge Malcolm X fan. I have said before that and again I joke about this come February, but if you're going to make Black History Month the shortest month of the year, I think you need to kind of check yourself. I mean, who the hell made February Black History Month, for God's sake? So, and why? I'm like, can't we pick a month that has like 31 days in it, for God's sake? Shit. I mean, give me a break. I mean, even that is just insulting. But I am a huge Malcolm X fan. I think Malcolm X had 60 plus programs, I think 63, 64, 68, something like that, social programs underway in New York with the people of New York, working with folks that were the founders of the Black Panthers and everything else. And, he had a strategy for how he wanted to solve this. He felt that Dr. King was being way too passive, not active enough, not militant enough, just trying to go along to get along wasn't the best strategy. And I happen to think that Malcolm X was right. And of course, that's why I think Malcolm X was killed first. And ultimately, when the overall doctrine for Dr. King wasn't making the progress that they had kind of wanted as quickly as possible, then Dr. King was killed. And ironically, if you look at the research, Andrew Young was supposed to be killed at the same time, but he was looking for something in the hotel room, and he was, still inside when Dr. King was shot, so that they didn't miss the opportunity for the shot. And I have my own theories about why that was, and I'm not gonna go into detail about that. You can research all the conspiracy theories you want, because I'm not a conspiracy theory guy. But for sure, George Floyd was not putting up any struggle. He was being polite while he was dying. So, please, sir, can you get your knee off my neck? I can't breathe. I don't know who in the world would find the courage to be that polite in the middle of dying from the wounds inflicted by the officer. So, it is a difficult thing at least. So, um, but I am a huge Malcolm X fan. He had the right idea, uh, and it was gaining traction. I mean, his and again, I think that under any other circumstance, I think Malcolm X would have been a phenomenal leader. He knew what was happening with the Nation of Islam behind the scenes and things like that. He was sort of coming to his senses on some of those things, and so I just, I think that it bothers me. I'm 55 years old. I'll be 56 in November, and it bothers me that we have not come as far as we would like to think that we've come in the last 55 years. And I think that's horrible. I think it's reprehensible. The fact that anybody dies in custody is a bad thing, regardless of race. But the fact that somebody begs for their life for 9 minutes and is denied the opportunity to live, I think you really have to kind of take a serious look at that. And if this officer does have that photo that I saw is real, where the officer has the "Make Whites Great Again" hat, which clearly is not endorsed or supported by the president, then the reality is that the cop is a racist cop, and he deserves the death penalty for what he gets. So I have no problem with that whatsoever. And I've often said before, I was like, look, if you're afraid to pull the trigger or pull the switch, or whatever, call me up, man. I'll be the first one in the firing squad, or I'll be the first one to pull the lever on the electric chair, or you have a problem pushing that plunger in on the death penalty, on the lethal injection. Fuck, man, I'm right there. I'm good to go on that. So it's all good. I think that and people have asked about the looting and the rioting and things like that. About two wrongs don't make a right and things like that. You know what? The community is outraged, and rightly so. I mean, I don't. I think it's I think that in times like this, I mean, burning down the police station, I mean, you gotta admit, I mean, that's got some legs behind it. But I get how frustrated people are with the situation. I mean, I really do. So you can't blame people for necessarily feeling like they don't have a lot of other options. People aren't paying attention, so they want to find ways to make people pay attention. So I'm not gonna begrudge or belittle people who are doing the best they can. So all right, so let's see here. So the question was, is this a Rolex Daytona on my wrist? And so no, this is actually one of the Chinese-made watches that is very similar to one of the Rolex Daytonas. And this watch is a quartz watch. Keeps phenomenal time. It's comfortable. It's weight, accurate. It is not branded as a Rolex. It's branded with a generic brand that is pretty typical of Chinese-made watches, and it's like $89. So why would I pay 15 or $18,000 for a watch when something that is roughly similar to it in design is available for $89? I mean, for me, I enjoy the style of the watch, and they do a great job. I mean, it's a great watch. And of course, you'll notice there's no link in the description to order one for yourself with an affiliate code where I'm making any money on it. I mean, it's not like that. I'm a watch guy. I enjoy watches, and but I'm not here to take your money. So, what's your opinion about taking a break from technology for a couple of days to reboot? You know what? I tell you what, I really support it. I mean, my wife and I have had a deal where I I've spent the weekends. I mean, the weekends are really kind of devoted to family, and the weekdays are devoted to work. And I really try to take a break as much as I can during the weekends. And I don't schedule meetings, and I don't kind of really get on and answer questions and stuff like that. So, it's worked out pretty well. So, for me, I think it's great to take a break for a couple of days. Yeah, for sure. We're all Americans despite race, sex, etc. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, again, one of the things that we're talking about is the opportunity to be able to is again, the police are there to serve and protect all citizens, and not just white citizens. And so I really do appreciate and believe that when police get out of line like this, it really does the whole country a disservice. What do you think about his tweet? I don't know who his is. Um, R.I.P. George Floyd. Yep, for sure. I was watching Malcolm X speech today, Ballot or Bullet, this morning. Yeah, I haven't seen that one, or if I have, I don't remember that was the title of it. But Rolexes are totally overpriced, for sure. I mean, so do I plan to buy a Porsche Taycan? No. I mean, there's no reason to buy a Taycan. Hmm. So first of all, um, let me get this out of the way right now. So I am an exploding dinosaur fan. People talk about, why don't I buy a Tesla? Why don't I buy a Taycan? Why don't I buy a BMW i8? Why don't I buy whatever? You know what? The BMW i8 pumps the sound of the engine in through the stereo system so that it sounds like you're having a good time, but you're not really. And I'm just not all about that. I mean, I think that, real internal combustion engines, with exploding dinosaurs running through their veins, for the oil that comes from, the pockets of, deposits that we get from old dinosaurs a long time ago. Those are the way to go. So, I'm going to be the last guy. So when they make it illegal to actually drive a manual car without auto drive, I'll be the last guy on the interstate weaving my way through traffic while police are pursuing me because it's illegal to do that. So, I am, while I would love to have a car with auto drive, and I would love to have something in ludicrous mode. One of the questions I asked on Quora or one of the questions I answered on Quora was, which is faster, a Ferrari or a Tesla? And so, despite the fact the Roadster is not available right now, so that doesn't matter. Teslas are limited to about 150 miles an hour, roughly about 125 miles an hour. Well, any Ferrari you could possibly want to own, even Ferraris that are fucking 30 years old, will outdo 150 miles an hour. 160, 170, 180. So you can't tell me that a Tesla is faster. Now, a Tesla can be quicker than a Ferrari, 0 to 60. But at the quarter mile, half mile, mile, the Tesla falls further and further behind. Also, you have to handle through the twisties and things like that, and the Ferraris are excellent at that. So, take it on the track, run it for 20 minutes, and tell me how much further the Ferrari is ahead of the Tesla. And it's just bullshit. It's just bullshit. So, I mean, I'm not going to put up with that, kind of analogy. So, ludicrous mode going from 0 to 60 in 2.8 seconds, or 2.1 seconds eventually, or 0.9 fucking seconds. It doesn't matter. You can't run the batteries at full ludicrous mode for longer than about 15 or 20 minutes without exhausting the entire batteries. I'd like to drive 180 miles an hour for longer than 15 minutes. I mean, I'm sorry. Go deal with that. So what Trump said on Twitter, tweet got deleted. Yeah, I saw it, and I'm not gonna justify the tweet with any kind of response. So, opinions on Eric Snowden or on Eric Carmella. So I'm not familiar with Eric Carmella. I don't know Eric Snowden personally, but I know the situation. I'm actually not going to comment on those. Snowden is a whistleblower. He's seeking asylum in a foreign country. They're working on extradition. So I mean, I don't have any issue with that. I mean, those systems exist. I'm aware of their existence. I'm aware of what functions they perform and things like that. So, would you recommend a pre-owned A class? So I assume you're referring to the Mercedes A class or S class. Okay, a pre-owned S class. Let's see, a pre-owned A class, a good deal. I don't know. S class. Yeah, I know. Clearly, you're having the autocorrect nightmare I always have. So I don't mind an S class. I'm a huge S63 fan. I would not get an S65. The V12 is a great car. It's a great car, but the V12s have larger maintenance and upkeep costs. And hey, buddy, I got my friends from Ghana joining. Nice. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. The Let's see here. Let's look at questions from Instagram, from YouTube now. They're spying on you, the overlords. Yep, I'm sure they are. So, in fact, if you look at my Wi-Fi network, there's FBI security van number 4 out there. So it's all good. I'm starting a window cleaning business soon. Gordon, any advice? Well, Don, you are welcome to go to gordonmiller.com and book a call, and I'm happy to talk to you about that. I had a great call today with Tom that booked a call. He had shown up on the other events. I don't know if Tom's online today or not, but had an amazing call. He booked a 30-minute call. I think we went like an hour or more, maybe even an hour and a half, hour and 15. But has a great idea. He's already provided the edits and everything. It was a phenomenal meeting. Right now, for the month of May, if you book now, the 30-minute session's there. So 30 minutes is half the cost of an hour, and we end up going an hour anyway. So, please book. I'll be glad to talk to you guys about your ideas, your aspirations, whatever. But Tom did a great job, had a great idea, and I'm happy to have gotten the opportunity. Gordon, I got to know you from Quora, big fan. Sanjay, it's my birthday today. Happy birthday, Sanjay. Appreciate it, man. Um, let's see. Thank you, Don. How's the pandemic situation in the States? Well, the pandemic situation is interesting because it's pretty political. And I was supposed to have a friend of mine on who is a nurse to talk about the COVID-19 thing, but doesn't look like she's going to make it on, so that's a shame. But the it is what it is. I mean, we have states that are still in lockdown mode, like Virginia, where they don't want any of us to go out. They don't want any of us to open our businesses back up. They don't want any of us to do anything that might jeopardize the safety of the people in general. But it doesn't recognize the reality that people have bills to pay and people need to eat, and their stimulus checks aren't going to do anything relative to that. And speaking of stimulus checks, I have to be clear about something. So I posted on Instagram that I spent my stimulus check on a new TV. So first of all, that's true. I mean, as I got my $1,200 check for myself and my $600 check for 2 kids, and I did spend more than $1,200 on a TV. But my TV had gone out like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and we had a 70-inch TV that went out. We bought a 75-inch to replace it because there's no 70 inches anymore. It was either 65 or 75. My wife is visually impaired, so the larger TV works for her. And I did not spend my stimulus check on a TV. I mean, I spent the equivalent or more of my personal stimulus check on the TV, plus a couple $100. I mean, I have plenty of other money coming in, so it's not like I spent my entire money that everybody else would use to survive on a TV. I mean, I was making a joke or a reference that people in the US are likely abusing their stimulus checks. They're likely buying things that don't matter. And I'm afraid that was taken a little literally or a little, kind of personally for some people. And some of my good friends who are single moms or other people like that follow me that were like, damn, I didn't get my stimulus check for whatever reason. I either make too much money or, I didn't fill out the proper paperwork or, there was some, confusion about what my banking information was. And then I end up looking like an asshole who spent my stimulus check on a TV. So, look, I went 2 or 3 weeks without a TV just to make sure that the world was not going to come to an end. And eventually, if we're going to be on lockdown for the next 6 to 8 months, I'm going to buy another fucking TV. I mean, but goddamn, I mean, the negative comments and some of the backlash for the concept that I would use my stimulus check instead of food or rent or other things like that on a TV is unfortunate. I mean, that's like not the whole idea here. So, yeah. So let's kind of get past that if we can. So, all right. Let's see what some other comments are here. All right. Let's see here. Well said. How does recession help to start startups? Well, startups get started for all sorts of reasons. There's certainly lots of opportunity. It's hard to, if you don't have a track record that, but, you have to kind of work with the opportunities that are there. Lots of opportunity for sure. I study in Vancouver, a multicultural city. I have friends who are Asian, Latin, Black, Brown. We all enjoy each other's company and are good friends. Uh, I saw that hat photo too. Uh, so yeah, Sanjay, I'm looking forward to coming to Vancouver at some point. I hear it's beautiful. I've had lots of people request that. I mean, I love the multicultural nature of that. I mean, again, I don't care what color anybody is. The amount of melanin or carotene in somebody's system is not a factor. I mean, there are piece of shit people that are all colors. So, you can be an asshole in white and an asshole in some other color. So it's all good. I saw that in that hat photo too. Yeah, I didn't repost it because I can't verify it's real, so I don't want to do that. I'm not that guy. Do you ever do meetups with your fans in case I visit Virginia? Yeah, Sanjay, posting under Ronaldo. So, yeah, of course. I mean, so first of all, there's a couple ways. So if you want to sign up, you can go to gordonmiller.com. And if you want to sign up for an in-person meeting or dinner, I mean, I'll even buy dinner. I mean, it's just, I mean, most of your money goes to dinner anyway. But if you want to do dinner, it'll reserve X number of hours, and I've had all sorts of people, drive 1,000 miles for half a day and we do lunch or dinner and we spend 4 hours or more together and things like that. So, yeah, no, I mean, if I also, you can go on gordonmiller.com if you want me to come to your area or whatever. I mean, I have a full day. I pay for travel. I pay for everything else, just as a matter of, and basically the cost of the meeting time reimburses me for my travel expenses and stuff like that. So, but, yeah, no, I mean, I'd love to come to anybody for any reason. It's all good. So, um, let's see here. Here in the UK, our police don't have guns, but a lot of gangs have. Yep. No, I know, Don. I appreciate that. I've all. It's a double-edged sword for the UK. And so, I don't like. I don't like not being armed because I usually do carry a weapon, and I prefer to carry a weapon. But so on YouTube, Javier asks, "What is my favorite? Do I have any favorite suits?" So since 1999, most of my suits have been handmade by a company called Tom James, and I have my own personal account manager, Doug. Doug's an amazing guy, and I love him to death. I probably have spent between 1999 and 2020, over the last 20 years. I probably spent over $100,000 in my wardrobe itself on $400 custom made shirts and $2,000 custom made suits and $1,000 custom made jackets and things like that. But when you're 6'2", and 295 pounds, it's important that you get stuff that fits and looks like $1 million and feels great on and things like that. And they've always come to me. They've measured it. Doug knows how to interpret the measurements perfectly so that everybody gets the fit that they want. Other people within that company and other people in other companies have tried. Brooks Brothers tried 4 times to make me a blazer. 4 times. Couldn't get it done. Finally got something that was close to being right, but it's still not ideal. And so the stuff that I enjoy buying from Tom James goes a long way. So, I hope my comment wasn't misconstrued as negative or judgmental. No, not at all. Hey, Jesse, what's up, brother? At buyacareasy.com. One of the first guys on Quora I talked to back when I was doing shit for free, and one of the best car sales guys in the country, working on buyacareasy.com. And I love you, brother. Hope everything's going well for you. And you know what? I love those paintings that you do. So I need to get one commissioned for me. I'll send you the colors. But let's see here. Hey, the next question from Sanjay, aka Ronaldo, on YouTube is, what cars do I own? So I have owned 54 cars in the last 27 years. And I bet Jesse wished he had sold me half of those. So the same sales guy, Bo Jordan, sold me 7 BMWs over the course of about 8 years. So, he made some serious bank. So that was pretty good. But, it's, I've had no more than 7 cars at a time. I mean, I used to drive 50,000 miles a year, and you can't lease cars for more than a certain number of years with a certain number of miles. And even when I moved back to Richmond in 2004, I was still doing about 20,000 miles a year. So for me, it was very difficult to, to be able to, justify keeping some of the cars. I mean, my BMW 7 Series, on one of them, I had exceeded the number of mileage. It was 20 cents a mile cost for every mile I was going over. I was receiving 50 cents a mile from the government in reimbursement. And so I actually turned the car in like 6 months early for my 98 740i BMW and bought another car. I didn't lease, I bought it. And I had to write the dealership a check for $10,000 just to drop the car off and be clear of it. So it was not a great day. So I don't necessarily recommend leasing in most cases. So, Cradmus, can you tell me what the question is again? I don't remember what the question was. If you want to tell me again, because I'm using both phones that I have to access this, so I don't have access to the question. Let's see here. Once you go manual and master its operability, auto becomes dull by comparison, for sure. I mean, it's sad to see that go away. Have I visited Canada, Sanjay? No, not yet. I look forward to it, though. What about India? I'm originally from there. What do I think of India? Well, I've been critical of India before on these calls or on Quora, just because they, lack of road infrastructure, lack of reliable power, lack of decent health care without having to take the train. Like, the local, regional, national kind of scheme where they escalate the problems and deal with that. Lack of road infrastructure, corruption by the government, instability of the currency. I mean, there's like a whole bunch of things. I mean, so take your pick on what India needs to work on. So I think if they want to be a world power like China, then I think they need to fix a lot of that. Do I think funding pressures going into Q3 will force the zombie companies to default on their bonds, and we will see a wave of insolvencies? So, Dayton, I don't know who you are, Dayton, but you can count on it. I think that people are going to use it as an excuse. They're like, oh, we need a good excuse so it doesn't look like we're incompetent. Let's use coronavirus as the excuse. So, yeah, I don't believe that gives everybody a free pass. I've never declared bankruptcy, never will, never would. Everybody who's ever loaned me any money is always going to get their money back. So, it's unfortunate that we have a situation like this right now, but it is something that people need to work their way through. I would host you in Vancouver. I organize conferences for my business school and would love to have you as a speaker or networking delegate. Well, Sanjay, posting under Ronaldo for YouTube, you guys want to sign up, essentially book a session for a live in-person thing, pick a date, and I'll be glad to come. I mean, the money that you pay for my time goes towards paying my fees to get there and to be there and things like that. I'd love to do it. I mean, it's basically a reimbursement for my cost. So, but other than that, yeah, great. 54 cars. Am I crazy? Yep. Uh, you do your index funds in a Roth IRA, right? So, so yes and no. So I have both Roth IRAs and non-Roth IRAs. And if I make on years that I have a net loss from loss carryovers, I can donate to a Roth IRA. On years that we have profits above 150,000 or above whatever the combined maximum is for a married couple, then I can't contribute to my Roth. I have to contribute to the other account. And then you can convert a regular account to a Roth account on a 5-year delay once you're 59 or whatever it is, I think. So there's some strategies with that, but it really just depends. You have to be smart about what you're going to do based on your taxable income in a given year. Hi, Gordon. I recently saw your answer on Quora with a video where you speak about business relationships. I've always had difficulty understanding business relationships. Well, so, I posted a thing about the key to business success is being able to build rapport in under 2 minutes. And I posted a video about that on Instagram as well as on YouTube, I think, and maybe just on Instagram. But the most important thing you can do is be able to build rapport quickly in under 2 minutes. You have to be able to connect with people on a personal level, and you have to be able to be authentic and have people like and trust you. It's just people buy from people they like. So, in one of my answers on Quora, I offered some tips on some exercises to do that. It helps to learn to strike up conversations with other people and things like that. So it just depends. So, but yeah, I mean, you have to just get comfortable with all that entails. So, one of the other questions I got from YouTube was Ferrari or Lamborghini, which do I prefer? So my father owned a '68 Lamborghini Miura P400S, and it was in one of 3 SV prototypes. So honestly, it's one of the rarest Lamborghinis in the world. The one of the 3 was crashed for DOT certification for the SVs. The other 2 were standard SV models that were modified to SV specs, which is primarily just the engine increased to over 400 horsepower. And the two Lamborghinis were given as gifts, a yellow one in California to the dealership out there, and the red one that my father had, orangish red, to Jake Kaplan in Rhode Island, who was the East Coast dealer for Lamborghini at the time. My father ran across the car in Rhode Island and literally gave the last dollar he had to own that car, and it was an amazing car. My father owned a string of repair shops. He was a exotic car mechanic, Porsche, Lamborghini, Ferrari, Jaguar, BMW, Mercedes, back in the 70s and early 80s when that stuff was just complete crap. They were hard to keep running, parts were hard to get. It wasn't like it is today. So we're talking about, 30 years of progress. He used to joke that the one 1976 Porsche 911S, which I owned a 95 Porsche 911S, that one Porsche 911S put me through private school during grades 6 through 12. So the 6 years of private school, 7 years of private school was paid for by this one customer with this one black Porsche 911 with the tartan interior. And hey, Tay, sorry. So anyway, that was one of the things that made the most impact on me. Dad was a completely anti-Ferrari. The older Ferraris were horrible. These days, I've driven both an '04 Lamborghini Gallardo, and I've driven an '02 Ferrari 360 Modena. And I posted an answer on Quora that basically said, the Lamborghini is a little boring to drive. It's hard to push it to its limits. It's hard to get beyond its limits. The Ferrari acts like it wants to fucking kill you every minute you're behind the wheel. And because of that, you give it more respect and you give it more attention. And I think that that's really kind of the way it goes. But I happen to have a preference. My favorite Ferrari overall is a Ferrari 458 Italia. And, my next Ferrari will be a 458 Italia for sure. It's they're coming down in price enough to where they're reasonable, in air quotes, reasonable, if there's such a thing as a reasonable Ferrari. But anyway, let's see what else we got here. I have amazing relationships with friends and amazing ex-girlfriends, but never understand business relationships. Oh, I'm sorry. So, so let's talk about business relationships. Do I mind elaborating on it a bit? Sure. Let me elaborate on the relationship thing. So how can I have 3,000 to 4,000 solid business relationships in LinkedIn, as I state in my video? So I don't have 3,000 or 4,000 solid business relationships. I have 8,000 business relationships. And I have 3,000 or 4,000 that I've worked with closely over the last 35 years. If you take a look at what it takes to have 3,000 or 4,000 relationships with people in business over the last 35 years. 3,500 relationships over 35 years is 100 people a year. I run into more than 100 people a month. So, do the fucking math. I take questions like that, pretty offensively. So, in terms of relationships, if you don't have a lot of friends and you don't have great personal relationships, you're not going to make great business relationships. And frankly, because you ask a stupid fucking question like, how do I have 3,000 or 4,000 relationships? And you're going to call me out or question me on that. you're not, you already don't have the right attitude to be successful in either personal relationships or business relationships. I mean, I've been doing this shit for 35 years. And, I have relationships that, we had 700 lab tours in the first 3 years I was director of the multimedia lab at Virginia Tech. So, I started with all 500 of the Fortune 500 and 118 delegations from 118 countries. So when I started my company, I had over 600 people, standing in line out of 700 lab tours that wanted to, do business with me. And that was in the first year I started the company. So, the 600, 700 only grew from there. And, I've done over 200 projects. There's at least 10 people involved in every project. So that's, 2,000 right there. Add that to the original 700, that's 2,700. So, plus the last 3 years on Quora with 270,000 followers on my space, The Truth Unfiltered, and a number of those people follow me as well. So, I don't know. Do the fucking math. So, all right. Can you tell me an exact exercise I can practice to build rapport? So, sure. So, Chef, if you go to Quora.com and you do a search on Gordon Miller, look for my profile. One of my questions talks about how to build rapport, and the answer is there. So you'll have to look for it. I have an exercise that I used to challenge people that I wanted me to invest. We'd go out and hang out, and I would ask them to try and build rapport with somebody there in the place where we were. And I tell that story. Gordon, have you read much of Aaron Brown on Quora? If so, what do you think of his work? AJ, I haven't. Unfortunately, I'm sorry. Have you had women trying to get into a relationship with you because of your money? Thanks, Javier. No, I have not. I mean, I've been married 22 years. I get requests, I would say daily, on Instagram and other things like that, with people, who are probably 40-year-old guys that live in Nigeria, but posing to be 20-year-old girls that live in the United States. But it's all good. I'm not that stupid, so it's all good. Um, all right. Let's see here. Let's go back to our questions on Instagram. We are at 47 minutes. What about people asking for money? People ask for money all the time. I just block and report them. So, yeah, I know, Kratzmus. I know the one you texted me, but I can't actually get to the damn question because I'm using both my phones here, so I don't know what the question was. So, which was the car which scared you by its power? So, the one that the shortest test drive in history for me was the what ZL1 Camaro, the supercharged Camaro. That test drive, I left the dealership. It broke traction in first gear. It broke traction in second gear, and it broke traction in third gear. And I was like, okay. So they had not dialed in the limited slip differential in that car, and it was a nightmare. So, I turned around literally at the next red light and came back, and I was gone for like maybe 5 minutes. And the guy's like, "Wow, you're back quick." And I go, "Yeah, no, this car is dangerous." So it's often said that entrepreneurs should focus on being good at one thing. For example, oh yeah, okay, right. Thank you, appreciate that. Social skills, very good at tech. So right. So this question that was given to me before was about entrepreneurs that like to focus on the tech stuff but don't have the people skills and things like that. So should they just focus on the tech? Somebody, the best tech in the world doesn't matter if you don't have anybody to sell it to. And somebody's going to need to have some sales skills or some people skills in order to sell anything. So it doesn't make any sense at all to be able to, just focus on what you're going to do and then not actually have the opportunity to make any sales. So that's kind of ridiculous. So on its face, it just really doesn't have any real opportunity there, unfortunately. I mean, you're either going to have to, get your ass up out of your chair and your introverted ass and start learning to communicate with people and connect with people, or you're going to have to find somebody who's good at that, who is great at that skill, and bring them on as a 50-50 partner. And otherwise, you'll never go anywhere. Having just the tech skills is not enough, unfortunately. You can improve your social skills, but a lot of other people just don't. When you're not good at social skills, it's a skill like anything else. The more you do it, the better you'll get at it. And you still may not be perfect, but you're going to have to develop that. I was an INTJ on the Myers-Briggs test. That's an introvert for the I part. And until I really started on Quora like 3 years ago. And working with you guys has made me more extroverted. And now I am an ENTJ if I take the test. So, I like you guys. I like communicating with you guys. I like helping. And, it's good. So. Do you follow any modern day economist? What do you think of Richard Wolff? Unfortunately, I don't really, my understanding of economics is more the classical sort of Laffer curve kind of thing, with the 80s and things like that. So I don't think any of that was wrong, and I don't think it is no less relevant today than it was before. But I will look up Richard Wolff. What do you think India should drop? Do you think India should drop democracy to get better? No, India is not a democracy. India is a benevolent dictatorship masquerading as a democracy. So, I think that there's a huge difference there. I also have trouble with social skills, trying every day to improve. I know, I get that. I mean, I get that. Um, so, I read The Way of the Wolf by Jordan Belfort. It's great learning how to build rapport. Yeah, no, I agree. I think Jordan Belfort, The Wolf of Wall Street, is a phenomenal guy. So on watches, which watches do I own? Do I recommend? So I posted on Instagram here recently in my watch collection that I had some time ago. Most of my watches today are, cost effective, either Swiss Tissot watches, which are under $500, or Seiko watches under 300, or even Chinese made sort of homage watches that are branded as generics with the Parnis label, and they're under $100. So, yep. All right. Let's see here. Thanks for answering the question, but I didn't mean to disrespect or anything, just understand better. Yeah, no, I get that. Not a problem. It's all good. AJ asks, my living complex was cited by the county health for residents not following social distancing policies in the pool area. Well, good for you, AJ. Send me your address. I'd love to. At least you have a pool that's open. Now we're hiring a pool ambassador who will monitor the pool area. Hey, at least your pool is open, brother. What's the worst investment you've made or seen someone make? All right, I'll get back to that. How can we practice our people skills while in quarantine or just wait? Well, you can practice online. I mean, I think that, chatting with people online, I think you can learn to build rapport in those ways as well. So it just depends. So, as far as my worst investment I've ever made, I would say I made an investment in an opportunity with a buddy of mine from high school where we'd agreed to put in about $100,000. They had put in less than 20, somewhere thereabouts. And I got 30%, and they got it wrong on what the specifications for the functionality of the platform was going to be. And unfortunately, they needed to make some changes. By the time we were done, 18 months later, we had put in like 300 grand, and the the platform just was not going to compete with any of the competitors out there. I expected that they had done their research. I expected they were an expert on what they were trying to do. They weren't. They didn't even know what they were doing. And they were supposed to charge. It was supposed to be free for like the first 90 days, and then it was going to be a charge, and then we were going to start making some money. But they did the press conference and they announced it was going to be free forever. And unfortunately, they owed me the money, and I filed a mechanics lien against the code. I sold the code later in another effort that we were doing as part of a scheduling implementation, where I made about $1 million on the project, and so I resold the code and made it work. Shut the other thing down, which is kind of unfortunate. But so in the short term, I was going to lose about 300,000. We repurposed the code a few years later and ended up more than breaking even relative on what it was. So, but I've got experience in marketing for a fair amount of time. Do I think that it can be taught to developers? No. Developers have no interest in marketing. So, all right, let's go back here to Instagram here real quick. So, what do I think of Robert Kiyosaki's teachings in Rich Dad Poor Dad? Do you agree with the fact that a house is a bad investment? Yeah, I do. A house is a liability. And I have videos on it. I have answers on Quora on it. It's a lot of money to tie up if you only end up doing a 10 or 15-year mortgage. It might not be so bad. But no, I mean, is living in a large house worth the expense, Javier? No, I mean, it's definitely not. It's a losing game. So it's often said that entrepreneurs should focus on being good at one thing. Oh yeah, we talked about that. Kiyosaki, specializing in tech, or should I also improve my social skills? Yeah, we talked about that. Let's see. Trouble with social skills. Do I have any tips? No, not any more than those I've already given. Way of the Wolf by Jordan Belfort. Yep. Do you believe that learning some hypnotism may help in sales? No, you're not going to hypnotize them. So do you think that I should make my social skills and all other skills which I'm bad at a good level and then focus on tech? Well, I mean, you can focus on tech, but at some point you have to have the social skills to sell whatever you have. So, Karn as far as asks about what do I think about the death of George Floyd. So I posted about this on Instagram just before going live, and I have about a minute and 20 seconds left. So I'll say this, that I grew up in the 70s, 60s and 70s, and I talked about this earlier. So it's earlier in this video if you want to go back and do the replay. I'm shocked that after 55 years, we still have a long way to go in terms of protecting the rights and protecting the rights of all citizens. So I think it's a horrible thing to have happen. I can understand the outrage. I'm not going to be critical of the people rioting in Minneapolis. So, do I think the U.S. can improve on racism? Unfortunately, no, I don't. I think I think until all the racist motherfuckers are dead, I don't think that we're going to make a whole lot of progress. But so. Jesse, you want to replace the painting behind me, man? It's one of my favorites. So, but I tell you what, I'm happy to. I'm happy to have you do that. So that's pretty funny. So I'm sorry about the go live request there. I've got 6 seconds left. Go to gordonmiller.com. You can book a call anytime. Thank you, Instagram, very much. Appreciate it. All right. Share to IGTV. All right. Let me fill out my title here. Sorry, guys. All right. All right. So, oh man, come on. Man, it won't let me post live on Instagram. That's pretty sad. That's when you know that your stance against racism is not going to be supported by the mainstream. There's a problem uploading my cover photo. Okay, well, that's fine, whatever. So, wow, crazy. Wow. Instagram is not letting me post this. That is something, man. Wow. Instagram is not letting me post it because of my George Floyd rant about anti-racism. Wow. That is something. I am shocked that all of a sudden, after all this time, IGTV here is going to have a problem. You know, it's that's crazy. So, wow. Mm, incredible. All right. Well, I would download the video then. That's crazy, man. Wow. Wow. Oh, still keeping me from posting. That is something. I am shocked that because of my criticism of the handling of the Minneapolis activity, they're going to block my video from being posted to IGTV. Wow. All right. Well, all right. So let's see what else we got here. If I had the day to spend with Mark Cuban, how would I spend it? I don't know. I mean, doing whatever Mark wants to do. I mean, I'm kind of, I'll be the bitch in that relationship. I mean, whatever Mark Cuban wants to do is fine with me. I mean, I would literally just enjoy talking about some of his experiences on the, during the coming up days. So, you said you have an app that screens out calls and with non-contacts. Also, you've invited Mark Cuban to call you. So does that mean you have his number in your contacts? No, it doesn't, unfortunately. I wish that, I mean, Mark unfortunately would go to voicemail, so it's so I don't think that Mark Cuban's going to call me anytime soon, though. So anyway, all right, guys, I appreciate it. We're holding up dinner. I'm 10 minutes late already, so thank you guys very much. I appreciate it very much. Have a good night. Have a great weekend.